Her voice wasn't scared. It was flat, too calm, too rehearsed. Please stay with me as I tell you my story, and don't forget to support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your loved ones. When my daughter came home from spending a few days at her grandmother's house, something felt strange. She didn't smile. She didn't talk much. I was unzipping her overnight bag when she finally spoke. Her voice wasn't scared. It was flat, calm, like she'd practiced the words. "Dad, don't ever go back to that house." I stopped moving, looked at her. "Why? What happened?" She didn't answer, just took a breath, reached into her backpack, and pulled out the phone I had given her to play games. She handed it to me. "Look at this, Dad." The screen lit up. It was a video, grainy and shaky, like it had been recording by accident, or maybe not. I heard a voice I knew too well. My mother-in-law. She was speaking softly, but her words were sharp. "She has no idea. Just like her father didn't. Poor man. All those years and he still thinks she's his." Then laughter. Another voice. "My wife's. I know. But don't worry. He won't figure it out. He never does." They were talking about my daughter. My heart stopped. I played the video again. Once. Twice. The words didn't change. "She's not mine." They had known. They had planned this. I felt sick. I didn't say anything to my wife. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I tucked my daughter into bed like I always did, kissed her forehead, told her I loved her. She didn't say much, just held on to me a little longer than usual. Then I sat on the couch, staring at the wall. Everything I thought I knew was suddenly fake. I thought about every birthday, every scraped knee, every time she ran to me after a bad dream. If she wasn't mine, then what was I? I watched the video again. My hand didn't shake. My breathing didn't change. But something inside me had started to crack. They thought I wouldn't figure it out. But I had. I didn't move. I just stared at the screen. The video played, then ended, then started again. My thumb never left the replay button. Each time it repeated, it felt worse. The voices, their tone. It wasn't fear or guilt. It was comfort. Like they'd said things like that before. Like it wasn't new to them. They laughed. It was the laughter that made it real. Light. Easy. Like a joke only they understood. That laugh didn't belong in a conversation like it didn't belong in any world where I was her father. It made my stomach turn. I sat there for a long time, still holding the phone. I didn't know what to say or do. The room around me felt wrong, like it had shifted slightly and nothing was where it used to be. The couch under me felt stiff. The light overhead seemed too dim. Even the air was harder to breathe. She was asleep by then. I tucked her in gently, kissed her goodnight, and told her everything was okay. I don't know if she believed me. I don't even know if I believed it. Her eyes were tired but alert. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded when I said goodnight. I went back to the living room and sat in silence. The video kept playing. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. Not yet. There was just this quiet stillness inside me, like something important had just broken, and I hadn't felt the full damage yet. I looked around the room, the pictures on the walls, the toys on the floor, the little things she'd drawn that we'd taped to the fridge. All of it had a new weight now. "He won't figure it out," my wife had said. "He never does." That sentence sat in my head like a stone. I never even noticed it before. The phone I gave her had recorded everything. Accident or not, it had become the only thing I trusted in that moment. I kept watching because I had to. I needed it to be wrong, needed some clue that I misunderstood. But the more I listened, the clearer it became. They were hiding something, and I wasn't meant to find it, but I had. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't move from that spot. The phone stayed in my hand. My eyes stayed on the screen. Every breath I took felt like it belonged to someone else. Everything was the same around me. Nothing was the same inside me. The next morning, I got up early. My daughter was still asleep. I moved quietly through the house, careful not to wake anyone. I took her toothbrush from the bathroom. Then I went into the kitchen and found a clean cotton pad. I pressed it gently against the inside of my cheek. No emotion, no second thoughts. I sealed everything in a plastic bag and mailed it out to a private lab. I didn't tell anyone. Days passed. I acted like nothing had changed. I helped with homework, made breakfast, sat next to my wife on the couch. She leaned against me like always, kissed me like nothing had happened, smiled like we were still fine. But I paid attention. She was more careful now. Her phone never left her side. She kept it face down, even while charging. When I walked into the room, she locked the screen without thinking. I watched her fingers move faster when she typed. Her eyes scanned every message like someone might be watching. She didn't notice I was. One evening, I waited until she was in the shower. I took her phone and made a quick copy, cloned it to an old device. She didn't even know it was possible. She trusted the silence. She never thought I'd look. The messages were all there. They didn't talk directly about the truth. They danced around it, but the words still hit like knives. He's acting strange. You don't think she told him, do you? She's just a kid. Stick to the story. They were worried. Not about me. About being found out. They didn't deny it to each other. They only planned how to keep me in the dark. They didn't even sound afraid. Just annoyed. Like my suspicion was an inconvenience. Not a threat. I read every line. Slowly. Carefully. Some more than once. Not because I doubted what I saw, but because I wanted to be sure. I needed every piece before I acted. I wasn't going to confront anyone until I had the last piece of the puzzle. That was the test result. It still hadn't come. I checked the tracking number each day. I didn't sleep much, but I didn't let it show. I stayed quiet, polite, helpful. My wife kissed me on the cheek in the morning like always. She didn't notice how I didn't kiss her back. I wasn't pretending for her. I was pretending for my daughter. Until I knew everything, I wasn't going to shake her world the way mine had already been shaken. But I knew what was coming. The phone had told me part of the truth. The messages had told me more. And soon, the paper would tell me the rest. The envelope was plain. No markings, no company logo, just my name and address printed neatly on the front. I held it in my hands for a while before opening it. The paper inside was clean, clinical, one page, one sentence that mattered. Probability of paternity, 0.0%. I read it once, then again. I didn't blink. I didn't speak. My eyes kept going back to that number, like it might change the more I looked at it. It didn't. The world around me didn't feel real for a moment. The room stayed quiet. Nothing moved. I stood in the middle of the bathroom, holding the paper, breathing slow. She's not mine. Not by blood. But I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything sharp. No panic. No yelling in my head. Just this strange stillness. A quiet confirmation of something I already knew but had hoped I was wrong about. I wasn't. I thought about the first time I held her, wrapped in a pink blanket, so small I was afraid to move. I thought about the way she used to fall asleep on my chest, the sound of her laugh when she learned to ride her bike, the little notes she left me under my pillow when she thought I looked sad. None of those things changed, but now I understood what I had really been to them. Not a father, just a placeholder. I folded the paper neatly and slid it back into the envelope. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, same eyes, but something was gone. Not broken, just cleared out, like an empty room after everything's been packed away. I walked out of the bathroom and into the hallway. I could hear her in the living room, laughing softly at a cartoon. My chest ached, but not because of the truth, because she was still mine, and they had tried to make that mean nothing. I didn't go to her, not yet. I needed to think. I needed to decide what came next. I didn't want a fight. I didn't want drama. I wanted the truth to stand on its own. No yelling, no messy scenes, just facts. She had lied. They both had, for years. And now I had proof. They thought I wouldn't find it. They thought I wouldn't look. They were wrong. I went back to the couch, sat down, and waited. Something inside me had settled. I didn't know what the next step would look like exactly, but I knew it had already started. The house smelled like roast chicken and garlic bread. It was quiet except for the soft clinking of dishes and the hum of light conversation. Everyone was in their usual spot around the table. My wife sat to my left, her mother across from me. My daughter sat between us, swinging her legs under the chair, unaware of what was about to happen. I kept my voice calm. I smiled when I needed to. I nodded at the right times. I didn't let anything slip. Nobody noticed a thing. Dinner went on like always. Laughter at small jokes. My wife poured wine. Her mother talked about a neighbour's dog. My daughter asked for more mashed potatoes. I reached for my glass, then paused. "Can you pass the salt?" My wife handed it to me without looking. Her fingers brushed mine, warm and steady. She smiled. That's when I placed the folded paper on the table. Neither of them touched it at first. I didn't say a word. The room stayed still, the sounds fading. Only the ticking of the kitchen clock remained. Her mother was the first to react. She reached out with one hand, unfolded it slowly. Her eyes scanned the lines. They stopped halfway down. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Her hand tightened around her glass. She didn't say anything. My wife leaned forward, took the paper, read it. She didn't speak either. Her face changed in seconds. The smile disappeared. Her mouth fell open slightly. Then she looked at me. There was no anger in my eyes, no shouting, no demands, just silence. She swallowed hard, then turned her gaze down. Her mother glanced at her, waiting for a signal. There was none. I leaned forward just enough to speak clearly, but softly. She knows. She heard everything. That was all I said. My wife's expression cracked. Her eyes widened. Her hand trembled slightly as she lowered the paper. But she didn't cry. Her mother started to open her mouth, but I raised one hand, slow and calm. Not yet. I looked at my daughter. She was quiet now, watching, listening. Her small hands gripped the edge of her chair. She didn't look afraid, just ready. I turned back to my plate, picked up my fork, and took one bite. No one else moved. I didn't need to explain anything. The paper said enough. The silence said the rest. Let them sit with it. Let it burn slow. She looked at me like I was the one who had done something wrong, like I had ruined everything. Her eyes were wide, mouth slightly open, as if she couldn't believe I had brought it out in the open. I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. Across the table, her mother broke the silence first. "This isn't something for the dinner table," she said quietly, trying to keep her voice steady. "It's between adults, between us." I turned my head, slow and calm, and looked right at her. "No," I said. "It was between you two. I was just the idiot in the room." She opened her mouth again, maybe to explain, maybe to defend. I didn't give her the chance. I pushed my chair back and stood up. Nobody moved. The paper sat on the table like a cracking glass, too small to shatter anything yet, but spreading fast. My wife didn't speak. She just stared. Her hands were on her lap now, fingers twisted together, knuckles pale. Her breathing was shallow. Still, she didn't say a word. I walked to the hallway and picked up a small bag. I had packed it the night before. Not much inside, just what we needed to leave, quietly, without looking back. I returned to the table, bent slightly, and looked my daughter in the eyes. Her face was calm. She didn't ask questions. She didn't look confused. I think she had known more than I realized. Maybe not the details, but something. "Let's go," I said. She slid off the chair without a word. Behind me, I heard her mother gasp, as if she couldn't believe I was actually walking out. My wife still hadn't moved. She just watched us, like she was frozen in place. My daughter took my hand. Her grip was small, but firm. We walked toward the door. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. Voices started rising behind us. Low at first, then louder. Chairs scraped against the floor. A glass clinked, but I kept walking. My daughter kept pace beside me. At the door, I paused only to open it. Cool air touched my face. It felt cleaner than anything inside that house. We stepped out, side by side. No one tried to stop us. They knew they couldn't. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say goodbye. I had already said what needed to be said. And now, I was done. The street outside was quiet. No cars passed. Just the sound of our footsteps and the soft rustle of trees in the wind. I didn't speak. Neither did she. Her hand stayed in mine, small and warm, gripping tight like she knew this walk meant something. Behind us, the door was still open. We didn't stop to close it. I heard things, plates shifting, voices rising, someone calling a name, but none of it mattered anymore. They could talk, they could argue, they could try to explain, but we were already gone. Her overnight bag bounced against her side as she walked. It wasn't heavy, just a change of clothes, a toothbrush, a few small things she liked. I had packed it in case we needed to leave. Now we had. We reached the car, and I helped her into the back seat. She didn't ask where we were going. She didn't ask about her mom or grandma. She just looked at me and waited. I drove. The hotel wasn't far. A quiet place near the edge of town. Old, but clean. I paid in cash and didn't use our real name. The man at the desk didn't ask questions. He handed me a key and pointed down the hall. The room was dim. One lamp, one bed, a small table with a chair. Nothing fancy, but the moment we walked in, the silence felt different. No tension, no pretending, just space to breathe. She sat on the bed while I locked the door. Then she looked at me. I helped her change into pajamas and brushed her hair back from her face. Still, she didn't speak, but she didn't look scared, just tired. She climbed under the blanket. I followed. She moved closer without a word, curled up against my side, and rested her head on my chest. Her breathing slowed. Her hand stayed on mine. For the first time in days, I closed my eyes and didn't feel sick, didn't feel trapped, just quiet. I didn't think about the video, or the paper, or the faces we had left behind. Not yet. All I cared about was the weight of her beside me, warm and real, and the fact that she hadn't let go, and I didn't plan to either. Morning light came through the hotel window. My daughter was still asleep, her hand resting on my chest. I stayed still, watching the ceiling, thinking about what needed to happen next. There was no rush, no panic, just quiet decisions. When she woke up, I helped her get dressed and took her downstairs for breakfast. She picked cereal. I drank coffee. We didn't talk much, but she stayed close. I could feel how much she needed me to be steady. I would be. After breakfast, I drove to a law office I had looked up the night before. The building was plain. A small sign near the door. Inside, it smelled like paper and coffee. The woman at the front desk handed me a clipboard. I filled it out with calm hands. No shaking, no second thoughts. When I met the lawyer, I told him I wanted to file. He asked if I had grounds. I said yes. One sentence, one truth, fraudulent paternity. He didn't ask for details. He didn't need them. The law would take its course. I signed the papers. My name on the line didn't feel heavy. It felt clean. There was no need to call her, no need to warn anyone. The papers would be served, quiet, simple, like flipping a switch. I knew she wouldn't fight. Not now. Not after the truth had already settled like dust. She hadn't called, hadn't texted. She knew it wouldn't help. She had played a part for years, but now the curtain was down. There was no story left to sell. The video stayed on the phone. I hadn't deleted it. I hadn't hidden it. In fact, I'd changed the background to a still frame from the recording, one where both their faces were visible. It wasn't for revenge. It was just a reminder. Some truths don't fade. They sit quietly, waiting to be seen. I picked up my daughter from a nearby park, where she'd been playing under the eye of a kind hotel staffer. She ran to me when she saw me. I knelt and hugged her tight. She smiled. I didn't. We got in the car. I turned on the radio. Some soft song played. We didn't speak, but inside, something had settled. Not peace, not yet, but direction. A clear path. We didn't need to shout. We already knew. The car ride was quiet. Trees passed by the window. The road stretched ahead with no end in sight. My daughter sat in the back seat, legs swinging, watching the world go by. She hummed softly to herself, the way she always did when she was thinking. I glanced at her in the mirror. 8 years. That's how long I've been her dad. 8 years of scraped knees, bedtime stories, lost teeth, school plays, birthday candles, and whispered secrets. I taught her how to hold a spoon, how to read her first book, how to tie her shoes. I've held her when she cried and laughed, when she made silly faces at the dinner table. I've been there for everything that mattered. Blood didn't write those moments. Love did. People think family is just about names and DNA. They don't understand how deep real love goes. They don't see the hours, the care, the 1,000 little things that build a bond stronger than anything a test can erase. They lied to me, used me, built a life on top of a secret, but they never understood what they couldn't fake. Love. You can't pretend to love a child for 8 years. You can't fake staying up all night with a fever. You can't fake sitting beside her at the school nurse's office after a bad fall. You can't fake showing up every single time she needed someone. They never gave me the truth, but she did. Every day. In her trust. In her laughter. In the way she called me Dad, without question. That means more than blood ever could. Now I see things clearly. I don't care about revenge. I don't care about the past. What matters is what comes next. I won't let her grow up carrying the weight of their lies. I won't let her think she came from betrayal and secrets. She came from care. She came from the arms that held her when the world felt too big, from the voice that sang her to sleep, from the heart that never once stopped choosing her. That's what she'll remember. We stopped at a gas station. She picked out a juice and a small toy from the shelf. I watched her carefully count her coins and smile when she had enough. I smiled too. Not because things were easy, but because I knew who I was, and I knew who she was to me, mine. The days after were quiet. No one called. No one showed up at the door. It was like they didn't know what to say, or they knew, and just stayed silent. I didn't reach out either. I had nothing left to ask. I already knew everything I needed. We moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing big, just 2 rooms and a balcony. It was enough. My daughter picked the bed by the window. She liked the light in the morning, said it made her feel warm. She never asked about her mother or grandmother, not once. She didn't cry or complain. She just stayed close, watching, like she was waiting to see if this life would stay steady. And I made sure it did. We started fresh, new school, new routines. I made breakfast every morning. She helped pack her lunch. At night, we read books, watched cartoons, talked about anything she wanted. Slowly, the tension in her shoulders faded. She smiled more, laughed again, slept deeper. She still used the old phone. I let her. The video was still there. She never deleted it, but she didn't watch it anymore. I think she just liked knowing it was real, that she hadn't imagined it. Sometimes, truth is the only shield we have. They had tried to hide it, tried to cover it up, but they forgot something important. They taught her to lie, to keep secrets. to pretend everything was fine, but I was the one who taught her to look closely, to listen when things felt wrong, to ask questions, even the quiet ones. That's what saved us. She saw something that didn't feel right, and instead of staying silent, she showed me. She trusted me. Even when everything around her was confusing and strange, she still came to me, and I listened. That's what they didn't expect. They thought I would stay blind, that I would keep playing my part forever. But they forgot who raised her, who stood beside her every day, who knew every look, every tone, every shift in her mood. They forgot the bond we built. They thought I'd never figure it out, but I did. And the truth didn't break us. It set us free. We're not the same as we were before, but we're still whole, still together. And now, no one can take that away. What would you have done if you were in my place? Was walking away the right decision? Or should I have stayed and tried to fix something that was already broken? I really want to know what you think. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next.